Turn with me, if you would, to Judges chapter 4, Judges 4, where the writer writes, After Ehud died, the Israelites once again did evil in the eyes of the Lord. So the Lord sold them into the hands of Jabin, the king of Canaan, who reigned in Hazor. The commander of his army was Sisera, who lived in Harosheth-Haggayim. Because he had 900 iron chariots and had cruelly oppressed the Israelites for 20 years, they cried to the Lord for help. Deborah, a prophetess, the wife of Lapidoth, was leading Israel at the time. She held court under the palm of Deborah between Ramah and Bethel, in the hill country of Ephraim. And the Israelites came to her to have their disputes decided. She sent for Barak, son of Abinoam, from Kadesh in Naphtali, and said to him, The Lord, the God of Israel, commands you, Go, take with you 10,000 men of Naphtali and Zebulun, and lead the way to Mount Tabor. I will lure Sisera, the commander of Jabin's army, with his chariots and his troops to the Kishon River, and give him into your hands. Barak said to her, If you go with me, I'll go. But if you don't go with me, I won't go. Very well, Deborah said, I will go with you, but because of the way you are going about this, the honor will not be yours, for the Lord will hand Sisera over to a woman. So Deborah was with Barak to Kadesh, where he summoned Zebulun and Naphtali. 10,000 men followed him, and Deborah also went with him. Now Heber, the Canaanite, had left the other Canaanites, the descendants of Hobab, Moses' brother-in-law, and pitched his tent by the great tree in Zenonim near Kadesh. When they told Sisera that Barak, son of Abinoam, had gone up to Mount Tabor, Sisera gathered together his 900 iron chariots and all the men with him from Harosheth-Haggayim to the Kishon River. Then Deborah said to Barak, Go, this is the day the Lord has given Sisera into your hands. Has not the Lord gone ahead of you? So Barak went down Mount Tabor, followed by 10,000 men. At Barak's advance, the Lord routed Sisera and all his chariots and army by the sword, and Sisera abandoned his chariots and fled on foot. But Barak pursued the chariots and army as far as Harosheth-Haggayim. All the troops of Sisera fell by the sword, not a man was left. Sisera, however, fled on foot to the tent of Jael, the wife of Hagar the Kenite, because there were friendly relations between Jabin, king of Hazor, and the clan of Heber, the Canaanite. Jael went out to meet Sisera and said to him, Come, my lord, come right in. Don't be afraid. So he entered her tent, and she put a covering over him. I'm thirsty, he said. Please give me some water. She opened a skin of milk, gave him a drink, and covered him up. Stand in the doorway of the tent, he told her. If anyone comes by and asks you, is anyone here, say no. But Jael, Heber's wife, picked up a tent peg and a hammer and went quietly to him while he lay fast asleep, exhausted. She drove the peg through his temple into the ground, and he died. Barak came by in pursuit of Sisera, and Jael went out to meet him. Come, she said, I'll show you the man you're looking for. So he went in with her, and there lay Sisera with the tent peg through his temple dead. On that day, God subdued Jabin, the Canaanite king, before the Israelites, and the hand of the Israelite grew stronger and stronger against Jabin, the Canaanite king, until they destroyed him. And let's pray. Father, we thank you for the reality that no matter what the situation is, you know it. Yes. And Father, we pray that even when we don't know what the situation is, when we hear you say, Thus saith the Lord, may we be found faithful to do what you were called to do. Father, as we look at the month of May, a month in which we honor women, may we look and see what's honorable about these women. And may we, as men, take seriously Deborah's comment to Barak and consider how we're going about doing things. It's in Christ's name we pray. Amen. It's May, which is a month in which we celebrate women, but if you're Hollywood, May means something else. May is the month now which is traditionally the beginning of the summer movie season, and that now means almost without a doubt that May is the month in which the gigantic, super budgeted superhero film will be released, trying to draw everybody in the first weekend of May, even if it means competing with a horse race and the fight of the century which apparently was the boar after midnight for across the shore. Apparently nobody heard the news story about how bad that fight was. Okay, that's what happens when you have a fight in Vegas that doesn't start till 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. Okay, I'll stop criticizing classic promoters and move on. But for me, my introduction as a child of the late 70s, early 80s to the concept of superheroes was limited to two things. A little movie that they hoped would do well, but they weren't so sure about back then, called Superman with Christopher Reeves. As a result of that, I was into DC Comics only because that's what ABC brought us every Saturday morning with the Super Friends. Yeah. The Super Friends. My favorite part of this picture is it's the only time you'll ever see Aquaman in the center of attention. Because let's be honest, no one cares about a superhero whose power is talking to fish. All right? But the Super Friends, this was where they brought all the top names out of DC Comics, put them all together every week, and they would go and solve adventures together as Super Friends. Even though they didn't live in the Hall of the Super Friends, they lived in the Hall of Justice, because apparently this was based on Justice League of America, and apparently as a 6-year-old you weren't supposed to understand the concept of Justice League of America yet. That would take another 20 years before we would change the name of the Super Friends to match the comic books. I can see a lot of you are really with me on this whole Super Friends conversation. But you look at the title of today's sermon, Honeybee and Lightning in the Land in Bizarro World. Bizarro World, actually, I was introduced to because of the Super Friends. Bizarro World is the world the opposite of Superman's world, and the Super Friends often had to interact with Bizarro Superman. You know Bizarro World. That's where up is down, left is right, right is wrong. And if I were from Bizarro World, and if you said hello, I'd say goodbye. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. You say hello. Okay, all right. I'll make sure. But the choice for this title of the sermon isn't just because I wanted to tie in and make fun of Aquaman and make a bad, lame Beatles reference in the middle of the introduction.
Yes, you did.
But its reality is, this is what the time of the judges is described as. The University Press Bible Background Commentary in the Old Testament refers to the time in which we read of all these judges as a time where the world is turned upside down. It's a world turned upside down. It's a world not where it should be. What is up is down. What is down is up. The land in which the men under Joshua have come and conquered should be theirs, but they constantly, instead of now living faithfully in the promised land with their promised God, the Israelites do, as is repeated in many of the accounts, what is right not in God's eyes, but in their own eyes. It's a world in which, because of that, God says, you're my people, but as I tell my people in Hebrews, discipline begins at the household of the Lord, and therefore a nation will come and rule over you. Why? Because you don't have forging equipment yet in this case. You don't have the ability to make iron, because you do not have that simple capacity or capability. It's only going to take 900 iron chariots to keep you oppressed for 20 years by Sisera. It's a world in which what should be is not. And in this world, God brings up what we refer to as judges. But you know what the interesting thing is? This is the only story. This is the only story in which we see someone actually functioning as a judge. This is the only time we peek into a courthouse in Judges chapter 4. There are references to others in this book in summary that they kept judgment and settled the people's disputes. But this is the only time in which we come into the courthouse. This is the only place in which we don't find the actual deliverer as the judge. But the judge becomes so important to the story that we can't mention the title without mentioning her. In case you were curious, in the title of our sermon, she is mentioned. Deborah is Honeybee. Barak is lightning. That's what the Hebrew names mean. Now let me ask you a question. If you've got to deal with 900 iron chariots, which one of these names do you choose to send out to battle them? Lightning or Honeybee? Unless he's allergic to honeybees. But even if he is allergic to honeybees, there's 10,000 men with those 900 chariots. How many times can a honeybee sting you? So, what kind of damage can lightning do when it hits right around 900 iron chariots? How does electricity work? Well, let me explain to you how electricity works. Metal is a conveyor of electricity. Which means if you hit the first chariot, it's close enough to the next chariot, an arc can jump off this chariot onto that chariot, and then you can just kind of like set all of them ablaze and make them all just dangerous to be in. So, let me ask you a question. Who will the Lord call to deliver the people from the mighty army of Sisera and his iron chariots? Well, God's no dummy. He says to Deborah, hey, remember what Mike said earlier about DC Comics? Yeah, I remember that. There's a fellow there by the name of Batman, all right? And here's how Commissioner Gordon handles being over at the Capitol and dealing in the city government building. When they need Batman, they put up the bat signal. And when they turn the bat signal on, guess what Batman does? Batman runs to take care of whatever ridiculous criminal has shown up in town today. No matter how ferocious and how fierce he is. In case you didn't know that, a few years ago when they finished those last trilogy of Batman movies, they actually did the character Bane really well. Because Bane's a big bad dude who can break Batman's back, all right? But despite that, does Batman run? No, Batman fights. So, what happens? What happened? Verse 6, she sent for lightning, son of Abinon, from Kadesh and Naphtali. What happens? What happens when real boxing happens? What happens when Ivan Drago kills Apollo Creed? There's only one answer. Dun 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 dun. It's time to fly now. You call Rocky Balboa and you send him right into the teeth of Soviet Russia, and he's going to go to Moscow and he's going to destroy this genetically engineered freak who seems to be overpowering and going to be the defeat of American and freedom and bring communism and bring us to our knees. You send Rocky, right? And it may take Rocky blundering and battered and beaten, but he's going to go run in the snow and he's going to go back to hitting meat just like he did back when he just wanted to fight Apollo Creed before they were friends and now Apollo's dead. But he's going to get ready and he's going to go and he's going to knock out the Russian nightmare. Or, if you're Vince McMahon and it's the 80s and you've got every anti-American coming to the ring, what do? It's very simple. You turn real American over the PA announcer, 19,000 people jump to their feet because here comes the holster, brother. And no matter how defeated and down he is, he's going to do that head shake thing and then drop a leg and win it 1, 2, 3. And Barrett, you're our Batman. Barrett, you're our Rocky. Barrett, you're a real Israelite. Dun, 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 dun. Because when it comes crashing down, and it hurts inside. Well, they can hurt your friends, but they can't hurt your pride. You're going to go! And what does he say? in this upside-down world. In a world where the way it's supposed to be. Remember the way it was supposed to be? Abraham, here's what I say to you. I will give you many descendants and I will give you land. Moses, here's what I say to you. It's time to give those many descendants their land flowing with milk and honey. So go and take the land. No, they still don't want to do it. The spies come back and they're all afraid. It's upside down. This is not the land of blessing, land of milk and honey. This is turned into a land of, we understand God said something, but we're not real sure. And now we turn to the book of the deliverers. And Deborah calls Barak to be the deliverer. She says, lightning, it's time for you to strike. And our deliverer in this upside-down world is a deliverer who abdicates his responsibility. Well, I know I just heard I'm going to fly now. But my thoughts as I was out there was, I don't want to run. I don't want to fight. But I'll tell you what I'll do. Yo, Adrian, if you'll go with me, I'll go. Honeybee, won't you be my gal? Honeybee, won't you be my pal? Honeybee, will you go with me? You go with me? In this upside-down world, Deborah says, you know what? This isn't right. But I'll tell you what. I'm going to go. But because I'm going to go with you, the movie ain't going to be called Rocky. Notice that this sermon title is not Lightning and Honeybee in Bizarro World. It's Honeybee and Lightning in Bizarro World. You know why? Because Honeybee deserves the honor. Lightning doesn't get completely left out of the story. And in chapter 5, there's the grand song that goes into everything. And Barak's mentioned, but you know who's always mentioned first? Deborah's mentioned first. And when it comes to Sisera, you know whose name is mentioned in the death of Sisera? Jael, the wife of Heber, the Canaanite. By the way, which one of the 12 tribes of Israel is the tribe of Canaanite? Oh wait, that's not one of the 12 tribes. Because Moses' wife wasn't an Israelite. Not only does the story and the glory go to the women of Israel, it goes to the women of foreign countries. Good job, Barak. Way to go, Lightning. Man, they're going to be trading your bubblegum card and waiting for your movie to come out in May. Man, the boys of Israel cannot wait to make you their hero. He abdicated his responsibility. Let me tell you something. We live in an upside-down world. And in case you haven't noticed, maybe you saw the news this week. We live in an upside-down world where we use protesting as a reason to loot stores. I don't know about you. I've never thought about protesting violently or peacefully on much things. But if I were going to, you know what I don't think I would do? I don't think I would dress up like a cat burglar. I don't think I would put on a full black suit, and put on a ski and realize that was her son protesting by breaking into stuff and stealing from other people. She became a what? She became a SHEroes this week in many people's eyes. She became the darling of Facebook for doing what? Disciplining her son. But you know what? It's an upside-down world. Where was Lightning when the honeybee had to go take care of her son? Have we reached a point in our upside-down world where we've made it so easy for Lightning to strike and go away and leave way too many honeybees taking care of problems that Lightning could solve? By the way, I didn't say that. You know who said that? A guy who spells his name the same way as the lightning in our story. He said it on Thursday when asked about the situation in Baltimore, or Friday, Wednesday, I can't remember which day he was asked in the Rose Garden. When not Barrett, but Barack said, we have cities where there are no father figures to show boys how to live. And as a result, they've abdicated their responsibility. If Deborah and Barrett are super friends, then this story is a story that we see way too often. That when the bat signal goes out, Batman never responds, but Wonder Woman has to sleep into action. I don't think we should criticize Wonder Woman for answering the call, but I wonder if maybe we should question Batman where he is and what his responsibilities are. I wonder if there's not a moment in this story where not only does Deborah leap off the page, but there's a question to men on what they should and shouldn't be doing in this story. There's a spiritual responsibility that goes along with femininity and masculinity. Ephesians chapter 5. Submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. Wives, submit to your husbands as to the Lord, for the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church, his body, of which he is the Savior. Now, if the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit to husbands in everything. And a lot of guys love that idea. That's right. Wonder Woman, you stay back at the Hall of Justice, and if you can dust for us while we're gone, we like that idea. Until the bat signal gets turned on in the next verse. Husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church. Okay, love, I can do that. No, wait, what does that love look like? How is it defined? And gave himself up for her. Apply Ephesians 5 to Judges 4. The Lord says, Barak, go take care of Sisera. We have been under oppression for 20 years. They have abused us, they have hurt us, they have destroyed us. Go take care of him. The answer is, if I have to sacrifice my life for the safety of the women and the children folk, I shall go. Instead, Barak says what? Sure you can't put your Wonder Woman tights on and take care of this for me? You ever looked at this? Proverbs 23:22. Talking to men and boys and girls says, listen to your father who gives you life, and do not despise your mother when she is old. I wonder if there's a connection there. I wonder if there's something about a father being responsible for teaching and disciplining a son and a daughter that leads naturally to respect for a mother when he understands his role in Ephesians 5. I wonder if there's something about the ability to sing a song of praise of Barak that would lead a young man to fight and care for the widows and the oppressed of his land instead of wondering who's going to solve the problem for them. See, this is not the May film where a guy comes out after watching it and feels like, yeah, let me go and fight. There's no desire to become an avenger of people if you're a fellow after this story. This is a bad story. And it's a bad story setting the world upside down. And I wonder if it's not, unfortunately for too many people, the story of their lives. The statistics on violence towards women, the situation of single-parent homes, which are mostly female homes raising children, and the poverty and the income. The statistics are out there, and they're shockingly bad and horrendous. While we let the lightning strike and move on. And that's just the physical and the natural. 20 years ago, because in Switzerland, they actually take kind of research where they ask you to report your church attendance and your church affiliation. They did some research, and I put this chart up until I give this research out to really drive home the point. About the spiritual responsibility and role that comes when people like Deborah say, let's do it the way God called us to. Deborah called you to go fight the battle. And what happens when barracks say, that's not my battle. The research showed that if a mother, no matter how faithful and loving Jesus she is, and no matter how faithful she is in her church attendance and her church life, that if she is completely faithful and her husband has absolutely no desire to darken the door in the church building ever, you know what the likelihood of the next generation children becoming even irregular or regular attenders in churches? Chances are 1 in 50. 1 in 50. For those of you who like percentages, that's 2%. Now go through your household for a second and think about that. What would 2% of your children be? My guess is if you had to put that between a number between 0 and 1, unless you have 50 children, that rounds to how many children? Do you know what the numbers were if dad is kind of just somewhat involved in church? It goes from 1 in 50. Remember my guess? 1 in 20. Anybody else? It goes anywhere between 1 and 2 to 2 and 3. The numbers jump from 2% to 50 to 67%. And if dad goes to church regularly without regard to what mom does, what the numbers jump up to? 2/3 to 3/4. Now, take those numbers back to your family. Which numbers do you like better, 2% or 75%? You know why? Because we bought into a lie at some point in American churches. That church is the place where you can pack up your wife and your kids and send them on Sunday morning, and that's good enough. And we're starting to reap the reality of this percentage numbers. I was asked, where is the next generation? I wonder how much of what the church is facing right now is the fact that we had a lot of lightning dads. A lot of barrack dads who said, I'll tell you what, why don't you go while I stay? More importantly, the challenge for us is this. How do we encourage the barracks of the world to protect the Deborahs of the world? Do we do it by bringing down and tearing down the SHEroes? I mean, the series is called SHEroes, women who leap off the Bible. Is that my point? I'm going to spend the sermon bashing Deborah for what's doing right? No. Wonder Woman deserves credit for answering the bat signal. But Batman deserves shame when Wonder Woman has to do his job. This story is a condemnation of men. And the ridiculous strength that women show anyway. I think of the mother who has been faithful and brought her children, and one of them comes to Jesus despite the 2% odds. She deserves commendation. And if you're one of those mothers, thank you for sharing Jesus in the life of your family. But I'm also sorry that you have to do just some awful things. Have you looked at the end of this story? You know the part of the story right before I said, let us pray, and some of you are going, that's what we're going to pray on? Did you see what took place in that story? Did you see the femininity in place that got just distorted because we live in an upside-down world? Oh, you know this feeling. I know some of you do it because you're the ones who always want to make sure when my collar's wrong that it gets fixed. And the ones who are always worried that I'm not eating right. SHEroes shows up at the tent, and he's what? He's tired. And all he asks for is just a drink of water. And JL says, there's something better than water. You know what's better for a nap than water? Nothing better than a glass of warm milk. You can almost see her rubbing his head while he drinks the warm milk, can't you? She mothers him to sleep. And then she strikes like lightning while he's asleep.
Makes me want to stay out of tents.
And why does she have to kill him? Because guess who didn't? That was Barak's job. You know how I know? Thus saith the Lord, I will deliver him unto you. Now go do it. I'm a believer in the concept of the spiritual relationship of Ephesians 5. I'm a believer in the fact that when the Bible speaks in 1 Timothy 2, it says that with the issue of the teaching of the church, that men are supposed to be the ones in a prominent position of teaching. I believe all that to be true. But you know what's been challenging to me? I used to just get real judgmental and really on my high horse about it. And then 3 years ago, I met a woman who was preaching at a church that they teach stuff that I wouldn't even consider being biblical. And we sat at the same table at a conference because I, like a moron who didn't have a woman to give him direction, sat at the wrong table and didn't realize that her group had that table reserved. But they were very kind to me anyway and didn't say to me, who is this idiot? Why is he sitting with us? And she had just preached her first sermon for a church of about 25 people in South Carolina somewhere. And we talked about the concept of writing the sermon and preaching the sermon, and you could just tell she cared about her people. She cared that what she had said made a difference. And more importantly, despite the fact that she's in a denomination where what they say about the Bible, what they say about Jesus sometimes doesn't sound like Jesus and doesn't sound like the Bible. You know what I came away from in that 30 minutes of conversation with her? She's Deborah, doing the work where guys like me have said, why don't you go do that? She's still proclaiming the truth in a place where the Baracks of the world no longer proclaim the truth. You know what? I think that violates 1 Timothy 2. I still do. But you know what else I think? I think someday God's going to sing a song to her praise that she filled that pulpit and told people about Jesus when nobody else would. You know why? Because this story tells me that even when the man doesn't do the job and ladies step up, that God advocates them. Now, I think the call then is still to challenge men to do what they've been called to do by Scripture. To encourage some who should consider the idea of full-time vocational ministry and proclamation of the gospel as their lifetime. To once again challenge fathers to take responsibility, Deuteronomy 6, to train up their children, teach them the law, whether they're walking together, whether they're laying down, or whether they're riding in a car, whether they're eating their meals, or however you want to apply Deuteronomy 6. But I also know there's something about the concept of faithfulness that God advocates. And that's why Deborah leaps off this page. And that's why even if she's covered in green matter, that story of jail just still kind of jumps off the page of how could she do that? Not how could she do that, shock. But how could she do that? Where we start to play behind her. Dun, 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 dun. Because she took out the threat. She's ready to fly now. I don't know. I never figured out what jail's name meant. I never came across that. I like the idea of Bumblebee and B1 fighter, though. Man, Bumblebee and B1, or Honeybee and B1 fighter, I think they can take out the entire army. They can deliver the whole people. While lightning is still just in the background. The challenge for us in a world that's gone upside down is to encourage and remember those that an upside down world often crushes and abuses. Fellas, the challenge for us is to become the protector of the ladies. Chivalry seems to be dead. There's still something about protecting the wagon train. Protecting, maybe I've learned too much from old Barton Brett Maverick. You ever notice that Brett Maverick always seems to get in the stagecoach with a woman who's trying to go somewhere who's either been widowed or doesn't have anyone to protect her? And before the story's over, Brett has done something. Anybody actually watch Maverick other than me? I gotta stop using illustrations that are 60 years old. But there's always something before the end of the story where James Garner has done his best. And Jack, what's his face, who's always on the episodes, well, I guess I can watch this one, but I'd rather see a Jim Garner episode, always protects the lady on the wagon train. How do we encourage women who've been abandoned, who've had the lightning leave their lives and leave them to fight for themselves? What do we do to lift their burden and honor them? What do we do to take care of those who have found lightning strike the one they love and leaving them suddenly behind? Remember what James said? Religion that God our Father accepts as pure and faultless as this, to look after the orphans and the widows in their distress, and to keep oneself from being polluted by the world. What do we do in a Bizarro world? When right is wrong and wrong is right, what do we do? Well, one, I think we honor the SHEroes. I still think we honor the SHEroes.
That's right.
I think we thank Wonder Women for doing the jobs they do. We go to chapter 5 of Judges. We sing songs of their praise and we thank them for what they've done. Number 2, maybe we do what Deborah does here with old lightning. You ever notice that? Look at verse 9, which I know I skipped over on the slide. There's the slide before there, Mike. When Barrett does his little "I'll go if you go with me" speech, notice what she said. Very well. First of all, I hate that tone. There's nothing worse. Very well. At least the way I read it. But fellas, listen to this and tell me how this makes you feel. I'll go with you. But because of the way you're acting, the honor will not be yours. She's going to hand it over to some other woman. Now, I know that Joe is used to hearing these words from Cheryl. Because of the way you're acting. Guys, what does Deborah do with Barrick? She goes right for the pride. She goes right for his pride. And that's where I want to see verse 10, where it says, and Barrick told Deborah, "Get out of my face, lady. I'm going to go fight this guy by myself. I don't need you anymore." Anybody else? Fellas, you hope you respond? Man, she played the man card. Maybe we got to do a little bit more of that. Challenge you guys' pride to do what they're supposed to be. Remind them not only what God has called them to do, but tell them the honor is yours when you sacrifice yourself for the sake of the one God gave you. The honor is yours when you train up the child. And then when he is old, he doesn't depart from it. When you say, "I'd rather stay home on Sunday," and look at the numbers of the chances of your son or daughter going to hell as a result of that decision. When you could reinforce the commitment for them to follow God by just showing up. where the chances jump 25 times, research shows us. Not that God doesn't say there's not a glimmer of hope when mom does it. 2% is still greater than 0. And there are grand stories of faithful mothers who were faithful in their prayer and in their dedication and saw children do great things for the kingdom. There's also research showing us that a generation wanting nothing to do with church after a generation of men abandoned it. And the third thing is this. I think we don't accept Bizarro world as the way it is. In a world where things are upside down, we need to stand and make things right side up. Which, by the way, is a description of the early church. Acts chapter 17 in the New Revised Standard, speaking of the Christians, these people who have what? Been turning the world upside down have come here also. Well, when you turn an upside down world upside down, guess what you've done? You made it right side up. We do that by continuing to honor mothers as those who have done an amazing work of their mothering in May. We do it by honoring fathers who take the responsibility to raise their children in the month of June. We do it in this summer season, which is the wedding season, by continuing to honor the concept that God has given marriage between a man and a woman to society for its own good, for the raising of a family. And we do it by living out these relationships the best we can, whether we be as children to parents, or spouses to spouses, or parents to children. And ultimately we see that when one man was called to do what it would take to deliver a people, we see that the great deliverer that comes from the line of Judges is found in the New Testament, when Jesus Christ did not say, if somebody will go with me. Instead, he said, even if none go with me. He went to the cross to turn this upside down world right side up. And he did it as our worship team comes. If you need this morning to have your world turned right side up, to put yourself back in a relationship and become a super friend of God through the power of the cross of his Son. If this morning that's a decision you need to make, we'll encourage you as we stand and sing our song of invitation this morning.